This is unbreakable, unapologetic, and unstoppable. This is where I say the things you can't say out loud. I want to talk about something that doesn't get celebrated on Instagram, something that doesn't come with applause, the pause, the call to pause. See, my pause didn't come because I planned it. It came because life handed me a mirror and said, look, something has to change. I know you felt it too. The tug, the whisper, the look in the mirror that says, if I keep running like this, I won't last. My pause came when my body said, sit down. When my spirit said, breathe. When my Labradoodle honey gave me that look like, girl, if you don't rest, I'm going to knock you over myself. It's the kind of pause that I'm talking about. The call to pause doesn't always come with a gentle invitation. Sometimes it comes with exhaustion. Sometimes it comes as tears you didn't plan to cry. Sometimes it comes as a doctor's report. The job that drains you, the family member who says, I don't even recognize you anymore. The world tells us when we're supposed to ignore that call. Hustle harder. Keep pushing. But here's the truth. Every strong building has a foundation. And every foundation requires curing time. Time to sit. Time to strengthen. Time to hold the weight that's coming. That's what the pause does. It makes you strong enough to carry what's next. I'll tell you the truth. I was afraid of the pause. Afraid I'll lose momentum. Afraid people would forget me. Afraid that if I stepped back, the whole world would move on without me. But you know what I learned? The world doesn't stop because you stop. The world keeps spinning. But when you pause, you finally spin back into alignment with yourself. During my pause, I discovered that silence can be louder than the applause. I realized I had been filling every space with noise because I was afraid of what the silence might reveal. And when I finally sat still, the silence spoke back. It said, you're stronger than you think. You're clearer than you've been. You're not behind, you're right on time. I want you to sit with me for a moment. When's the last time you truly paused? Not strolled on your phone, not binge watched a show. I mean, paused. Sat in silence, listened. If you're listening right now, I want you to ask yourself, what is life calling me to pause from? Is it overwork, overgiving, overthinking? What part of you is crying out for stillness? I'm going to give you 15 seconds just to breathe into that question. If you can, write it down. If you can't write, speak it out loud. What is the call to pause in your life right now? My pause wasn't punishment, it was preparation. The call to pause wasn't about stopping my dream, it was about saving me so I could keep building my dream. And if you hear nothing else in this segment, hear this. The pause is not your enemy. The pause is your greatest ally because without it, you will break. But with, you will build. That's the call to pause. And it made me stronger. Now, let's talk about the biggest enemy of pause, the hustle myth. Because once you clear the call, the first thing you have to do is unlearn the lies that keep you running. So let's talk about this hustle myth. You know that one, the slogan that we've all heard, grind till you shine. I'll sleep when I'm dead. No days off. They make it sound like exhaustion is a trophy, like being the most tired person in the room somehow makes you the most successful. But let me tell you the truth. Burnout isn't a badge of honor. It's a slow death dressed up as ambition. Think about it. An athlete can't train 24 hours a day. Their muscles need rest. A singer can't perform 7 nights a week forever. Their voice needs recovery. Even nature itself, winter isn't failure, it's preparation for the spring. So why do we think we can go nonstop? Why do we treat rest like a crime? It's because hustle culture lied to us. It told us motion equals progress. But that's not true. A hamster runs nonstop on its wheels, sweating, straining, moving. But where does it end up? Absolutely nowhere. Exhausted, but in the same cage. I remember the season when I believed that lie. I thought if I said yes to every opportunity, if I stayed up later, woke up early, worked harder than everyone else, that's when I win. But what did I win? Bags under my eyes, a short temper, my body breaking down? Hustle culture told me that was success, but it was killing me. And here's the kicker. The world didn't reward me for it. Nobody was clapping for my burnout. Nobody was handing me a medal for being exhausted. But when I realized hustle culture only takes, it doesn't give. Let me turn this to you for a second. Where in your life have you confused exhaustion with achievement? Think about it. Have you ever worked yourself sick and still felt like it wasn't enough? Have you ever chased the clock, chased the grind, only to end up at the end of the day just empty? I want you to pause this episode if you need to. Grab a notebook and write one place in your life you've been hustling yourself to the ground. And then I want you to ask, who told me I had to live this way? Who sold me this lie? You see, hustle culture sells fear. Fear that if you stop, you'll fall behind. Fear that if you rest, someone will take your place. But the truth is, what's meant for you cannot be stolen. What's for you is for you. Rest doesn't disqualify you. It sustains you so you can actually enjoy the life you're building. The hustle myth says rest is weakness. The truth says rest is wisdom. The hustle myth says keep going or lose it all. The truth says pause and you'll come back stronger. So hear me. Hustle is not flex. Peace is. Health is. Longevity is. Hustle will have you bragging about grinding while your body and your joy are falling apart. That's not living. That's dying slow. And the day you decide to break up with hustle culture, that's the day you finally get to live on your own terms. Once I broke free from the hustle myth, something else happened. In the silence of the pause, when I finally put hustle down, I gained a gift I didn't expect. Clarity. And that's what we're talking about next. See, once the hustle quieted down, once I stopped running like a hamster in a wheel, something happened. Clarity. See, clarity doesn't come in the noise. Clarity doesn't come when the calendar is packed or when every notification is buzzing. Clarity comes in the silence. And silence is where the truth that you've been avoiding finally speaks. When I paused, I realized I had been moving so fast that I couldn't tell the difference between urgent and important. Everything felt urgent. Emails, calls, meetings, deadlines. And I confused all of that noise for purpose. But silence stripped away the noise. Silence said, this project feeds you. That one drains you. Silence said, these people pour into you. Those people take. Silence says, this is who you really are when nobody's watching. And this is who you pretend to be when the world is watching. That's what clarity does. It cuts through the fog and forces you to face the truth. See, I remember sitting at my desk one morning during the pause. No phone, no laptop, just me and a journal. At first, it felt awkward. Like, what am I doing? I should be working. I should be moving. But then my pen started writing faster than my brain could keep up. I wrote down questions like, what am I chasing that doesn't belong to me? Who am I trying to prove wrong? And if nobody ever clapped again, would I still do what I'm doing? Then I read it back. The answers hit me hard. Half of what I was chasing was about proving something to other people, not about fulfilling my own purpose. That's what the pause revealed. The pause brought me back to me. Let me hand this back to you. If you pause right now, if you got still for just 5 minutes, what truth would surface? I want you to actually imagine it. No phone, no distractions, just you and your thoughts. What comes up? What do you realize about your work, your relationships, your health? What fog needs to be lifted in your life right now? I'll give you 20 seconds of silence, and I want you to name it. Out loud if you can, or on paper if you're journaling. What clarity is waiting for you in the silence? Clarity isn't always comfortable. Sometimes clarity hurts, because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. Once you admit it, this job is draining me. Or this relationship is breaking me. This version of success isn't even mine, then you have a choice. Do you keep living in the fog, or do you honor the clarity? But here's the power. Clarity is a gift. It's like cleaning a dirty window. Once the fog is gone, the view is sharp. And when you can see clearly, you can move intentionally. So don't be afraid of silence. Don't be afraid of stillness. Don't be afraid of what clarity will reveal. Because clarity doesn't come to shame you, it comes to free you. The pause gave me clarity, and that clarity became my compass. Now, once clarity showed up, the next gift wasn't about vision, it was about strength. Because that pause didn't give me a clear view, it gave me resilience. And that's where we're going next. See, clarity showed me the truth. But truth alone doesn't keep you standing when the storms hit. The next gift the pause gave me was resilience. Resilience is not about never breaking down. Resilience is about bouncing back stronger. It's about what you do after you fall, after the tears, after the no's, after the losses. The pause rebuilt my resilience. Think about your body for a second. When you work out, your muscles don't get stronger during the workout. They get stronger in the recovery. It's in the rest that the muscle fibers repair and rebuild. The pause works the same way. Life had torn me down in places. Stress had eaten away at my strength. The grind had thinned me out like a glass ready to shatter. But when I paused, I gave my spirit the recovery time it needed to heal, to repair, and to come back fortified. Resilience isn't about faking toughness. It's about doing what it takes to restore your real strength. I remember one night during my pause, I sat on the floor in tears. I was tired of fighting, tired of proving, tired of being the strong one. And I whispered, God, I can't do it like this anymore. That night I slept, really slept, for the first time in weeks. And when I woke up, nothing in my situation had changed. The bills were still due, the deadline still waiting, but I felt different. I felt steadier. That's resilience. Not that the storm disappeared, but that I could stand in it without being blown over. The pause gave me space to rebuild that kind of strength. Let me ask you, where are you tired of faking strong? Where in your life do you need recovery before you step back in? I want you to breathe into the question right now. Maybe even say it out loud. Where do I need to recover? I want you to take 20 seconds and let it settle. If you're journaling, write one word. If you're driving or walking, speak it quietly. Where do you need resilience rebuilt? Here's the truth. I want you to carry resilience doesn't come from pretending you're unbreakable. I want to say that one more time. Resilience doesn't come from pretending you're unbreakable. It comes from honoring your limits, honoring your healing, and giving yourself the pause you need to repair. That's why some people break under pressure, some bend but don't snap. The ones who survived the storm are the ones who avoided the pause. I said that all wrong. The ones who survived the storm aren't the ones who avoided the pause. There we go. They are the ones who took the pause seriously. So if you've been shaming yourself for needing rest, stop. Resilience isn't about ignoring your wounds, it's about tending to them so you can rise again. The pause rebuilt my resilience, and that resilience is the reason I'm standing right here, speaking to you today. And once the pause rebuilt my resilience, something shifted. I realized I didn't need anyone else's permission to rest. I didn't need validation to slow down. The pause gave me the power to grant myself permission, and that's where we're headed next. See, I want to tell you something that shifted everything for me. I gave myself permission to rest. See, for years I lived like I needed someone else to say it was okay. You know, a boss, a client, my kids, my family, society. Somebody to say, you've worked hard enough, now you can stop. But that day never came. Because the truth is, nobody's gonna hand you permission. You have to take it. My pause wasn't optional. It wasn't a luxury spa weekend or a little time off just because. My pause came because my body set me down the hard way. I was dealing with serious health issues. My heart. Doctors told me bluntly, if you don't stop, your body will stop you. See, I didn't even know I had a heart issue at all. Matter of fact, I walked into the emergency room very casually and expected to come home when they checked me out because I just thought it was something simple. But let me tell you, nothing wakes you up faster than hearing your heart. The very organ keeping you alive is in trouble. Nothing silences hustle culture quicker than realizing no amount of money, no job title, no deadline is worth your life. And I had to face it. If I didn't pause, I couldn't have a future to keep hustling for. That's when I realized rest isn't optional. It's survival. And survival isn't selfish. Rest is not earned. Rest is necessary. Let me say that again. You don't earn rest by grinding yourself into the ground. You rest because you're human, because your body demands it, because your soul can't keep running empty forever. Permission to rest means you stop waiting for applause before you put yourself first. It means you stop waiting for a doctor's warning before you slow down. It means you trust your worth enough to pause even when the world is still moving. I want you to get real with yourself. Where are you denying your body the rest it's been asking for? Is that migraine you keep pushing through, the anxiety you bury under work, the restless nights you call normal? I'll give you 20 seconds to name it right now. Speak it out loud if you can. Write it in your journal. What part of you is crying out for permission to rest. You don't need me to tell you. You already know. You already feel it. But I'm going to say it anyway. You have permission. You have permission to sleep. You have permission to turn off your phone. You have permission to say no. You have permission to cancel. You have permission to breathe. Because let me tell you, when my heart condition forced me to stop, the world didn't collapse, the bills didn't vanish, but life didn't end. People adjusted, the work waited, and I realized the thing I thought I couldn't pause for was the thing I couldn't afford not to pause for: my life. So hear me clearly, permission is yours. You don't need the world's approval to honor your body. You don't need anyone's sign off to protect your peace. Rest is not weakness, rest is wisdom. And when you grant yourself permission, you don't fall behind. You finally get in alignment. And here's the beauty. Once you give yourself permission to rest, something else happens. Purpose starts to surface because the pause just heals your body. It reminds you why you're here, and that's where we're going next. When I finally gave myself permission to rest, something happened that I didn't expect. Beneath the silence, beneath the exhaustion, beneath the fear, purpose started to rise back up. See, when you're stuck in hustle mode, your vision gets blurry. You forget why you started. You confuse activity with destiny. But the pause peels that all the way back. And until you're face to face with the core of why you're here. See, purpose doesn't shout in whispers, and you can't hear whispers when you're drowning in noise. During my pause, I asked myself a simple but heavy question. If nobody ever clapped again, if nobody ever posted about me, if nobody ever brought another product or booked another service, would I still be doing this? That question rocked me, because I realized how much of my grind had been about proving things to other people. Proving I could survive corporate. Proving I could launch a business. Proving I could bounce back from setbacks. But proving is not the same as purpose. Purpose isn't about them. It's about why you exist. It's about what only you can bring to the world. I remember one afternoon sitting in complete stillness, and I heard it clear as day. Bonita, you were made to help people rise. It wasn't about chasing titles. It wasn't about building things to impress people. It wasn't about proving I was strong. My purpose has always been to lift others up, to speak truth that frees them, to help people see themselves through a different lens. And I have been doing that all along. But I had been buried under hustle, under busyness, under the weight of trying to be everything to everybody. The pause stripped that away and gave me true purpose, space to breathe again. Now I want to hand this to you. If you paused right now, if you strip away the need for recognition, money, or approval, what would be left? What do you do when nobody's watching? What lights you up? even when there's no paycheck attached. What do people always come to you for? Even if you never advertise it. See, that's purpose. That's the whisper beneath the noise. Take 20 seconds right here and sit with that. Write it down, the first thing that rises in your spirit. Don't overthink it, don't edit it, just name it. What's your purpose whispering right now? See, purpose rediscovered is like oxygen. It wakes you up again. It brings you energy that hustle never ever could. Because hustles drains you, but purpose fuels you. Here's what I realized. My heart condition, my pause, my silence, it wasn't random. It was alignment. Life was forcing me to come back to my why. And once I rediscovered it, the grind didn't control me anymore. My purpose did. So let me say this to you. If you lost your way, you haven't lost your purpose. It's still there. Waiting under the noise, waiting under the pressure, waiting under the exhaustion. And when you pause, you'll hear it again. Purpose isn't lost. Purpose is waiting for you to listen. Now, once you rediscover purpose, something powerful happens. Your priorities shift. Things you used to chase don't even matter anymore. Things you used to ignore suddenly becomes non-negotiable. And that's where we're going next. See, when purpose rises back up, it changes everything. Suddenly, the things you thought were urgent don't feel urgent anymore. The things that you've been ignoring suddenly feel like life or death. That's what pause does. It reorders your priorities. See, before my pause, my calendar was my master. Every meeting, every deadline, every ping on my phone, it felt like it owned me. I was reacting to life instead of leading it. But once I rediscovered my purpose, I had to ask, do my priorities actually reflect what I say matters most? And that answer was no. See, here's the truth. If your calendar and your values don't match, you're living out of order. And when you live out of order, you live out of peace. I realized I was pouring more energy into proving myself at work than I was protecting my health. I was spending more time checking tasks off a list than checking in with my kids. I was treating clients like top priority, but treating my own rest like it was optional. Purpose forced me to reorder that. Because purpose will not sit in a backseat while busyness drives you into a ditch. One night, during my pause, I sat with my journal and I wrote everything down. Everything that was eating up my time. Pages of tasks, pages of obligations. And then when I asked myself, if I only had 6 months left to live, which of these would still matter? That list got real short, real fast. My kids, yes. My health, yes. My legacy projects, like my books and my podcast, yes. But a whole lot of other stuff, the endless emails, the busy work, the people pleasing, all gone. That night I decided I don't want to live my life like it's disposable. I want my priorities to reflect my purpose. Let me hand this to you now. If you look at your calendar from the last 7 days, what would it say about your priorities? Would it show your purpose or would it show distraction? Here's the hard part. Your calendar doesn't lie. Your bank account doesn't lie. Your energy doesn't lie. They always reveal what you actually value. So I want you to pause right now and ask, what needs to move up in priority? And what needs to get cut out? Take 20 seconds. Breathe. Write one thing you need to elevate and one thing you need to release. Let me tell you, every yes is a no to something else. When you say yes to the grind, you're saying no to peace. When you say yes to people pleasing, you're saying no to self-respect. When you say yes to everyone else, you often say no to yourself. The pause taught me to guard my yes, to make sure my yes lined up with my purpose, not just my pressure. So if your life feels out of order right now, maybe it's not because you're broken. Maybe it's because your priorities are out of alignment. The pause is your invitation to order, to put what truly matters back into its rightful place. Because when your purpose and your priorities line up, your peace returns. And once your priorities are reordered, something else begins to rise. You realize that there is power in stillness, not in motion, not in noise, but in stillness. And that's where we're going next. When I reordered my priorities, I uncovered something else. A power most people overlook, not in speed, not in motion, but in stillness. See, I've been taught that stillness is weakness. And if you're not moving, you're falling behind. But stillness isn't passive, it's active restoration. Stillness is where your spirit gathers strength, where your creativity recharges, where your mind quiets enough to solve problems you couldn't think through while rushing. Think about water. A rushing river is powerful, yes. But it's in the still lake that you see your reflection. The same is true for us. We see ourselves most clearly in stillness. Stillness is where ideas surface. Stillness is where wisdom settles in. Stillness is where your soul says, this is who you really are. And this is where you really need to go. And yet, we run from it because stillness feels uncomfortable at first. It feels like nothing is happening. But the truth, everything is happening. Quietly, deeply, powerfully. I remember one morning during my pause, I sat in absolute silence, no phone, no TV, just me, breathing. At first I hated it. My mind raced with all the things I should have been doing. But then after 10 minutes, something shifted. My breathing slowed, my thoughts softened, and in that stillness, I felt peace. A peace I hadn't felt in years. That day, I realized motion had been my drug, but but stillness was my medicine. I want you to try something right now. Even as you listen, take a deep breath, hold it, and release. Do it again. In, hold, and release. Now ask yourself, when was the last time I sat in true stillness? Not scrolling, not multitasking, not rushing, just being. Take 20 seconds, right here. Sit in it. Imagine yourself in stillness and notice what comes up. Stillness is not wasted time. Stillness is invested time. Because what stillness flows strength. From stillness flows clarity. From stillness flows creativity. Here's what I learned. People who fear stillness are really afraid of facing themselves. But the pause taught me that facing myself is where the real power begins. So don't despise stillness. Don't run from it. Don't label it as lazy. Embrace it. It's sacred. Because the power you need for yourself next season might not come from moving faster. It might come from sitting still. And once I embraced stillness, something beautiful happened. Ideas started bubbling up. Creativity that had been buried under exhaustion suddenly had room to breathe. And that's what we're talking about next. When fully embraced stillness, that was hard for me to embrace stillness. Something happened that surprised me. My creativity came back. See, exhaustion is a creativity killer. When you're running on fumes, when every day feels like survival, you don't have the margin to dream. You're too busy just trying to make it through. But the pause, the stillness, it created space. And in that space, my creativity started to breathe again. See, creativity doesn't thrive in chaos. Creativity thrives in margin. You know this. Your best ideas usually don't hit you when you're staring at a laptop at 2 a.m. They come in a shower. They come in a walk. They come when you're driving with the music on and your mind is clear. That's not an accident. That's the brain finally uncluttering itself long enough for ideas to rise. The pause gave me that margin, and suddenly ideas that had been stuck under exhaustion started to flow. Book outlines, podcast topics, business strategies, creative solutions I couldn't force before. They just surfaced, not from pressure, but from peace. I remember one day sitting outside in peace, and out of nowhere, besides honey, I got a full idea for a new project. It wasn't something I had planned. It wasn't even something I was looking for. But because I was finally still enough to hear it, the idea landed. That idea turned into momentum. That momentum turned into plans. And those plans are now turning into impact. All because I gave creativity the oxygen of margin. Let me hand this to you. What ideas are waiting on your pause? What book is sitting inside of you that can't come out because you're too busy to listen? What solution is buried under exhaustion? What invention, what business, what art is waiting for you to breathe long enough for it to rise? Take 20 seconds right here. Ask yourself, what idea is waiting for me in the silence? Don't overthink it. Just let the first thing surface. Here's the thing. Creativity is not reserved for artists or entrepreneurs. Creativity is just for all of us. It's problem solving. It's a fresh perspective. It's innovation in everyday life. But you don't get there if you never pause. The pause is not just a reset, it's a release. It releases that creativity that exhaustion has been choking. And when creativity flows, your comeback won't look like anybody else's. It would be uniquely yours. So, if you feel stuck, if you feel uninspired, don't grind harder. Don't scroll for motivation. Don't copy somebody else's blueprint. Pause, breathe, create space, and watch how your creativity shows up again. The comeback isn't just about energy. It's about new ideas, new visions, new strategies, new songs, new stories. The pause births creativity, and creativity fuels comeback. And that takes us to the final piece of this journey. Because once creativity rises, once ideas flows, the only thing left is courage. The courage to step back out, to rise again, to make the comeback real. That's what we're closing with. See, clarity came in the silence. Resilience was rebuilt in the pause. Purpose rose back up. Priorities got reordered. Stillness gave me strength. Creativity started to flow. And now, all of that leads to one final step. That's called courage. Because what good is clarity, resilience, and creativity if you never step back out with courage? The pause prepares you, but the comeback requires bravery. Bravery. That didn't sound right. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward without being afraid. When my heart condition forced me to stop, I was scared. I was scared of losing time. I was scared of losing income. I was scared of being forgotten. But here's what I learned. The comeback doesn't erase fear. It just requires you to face it differently. The pause gave me strength, but courage is what got me moving again. Courage is pressing record on this podcast after weeks of silence. Courage is writing the book that scares you. Courage is walking into a doctor's office for that next checkup and saying, I'm still here. Courage is deciding day after day to rise anyway. I remember the first day I sat down to record again after my break. Man, my hands were shaking. They were sweating. Shook a little bit. I wondered, would people still listen? Did I lose my momentum? Did I lose my audience? Would my voice still matter? But then I pressed record. And once I started speaking, the courage kicked in. The words flowed and I realized courage doesn't come before you act. Courage meets you in the act. And that's the secret. Courage doesn't live in the planning. It lives in the doing. It lives in the comeback. Let me ask you, what's your comeback going to require? Maybe it's the courage to leave the job that's killing you. Maybe it's the courage to rest when everyone else is grinding. Maybe it's the courage to start the business, to write the book, to speak the truth, to forgive yourself, to heal. What step have you been afraid to take? Here we go. I want you to take 20 seconds. I want you to breathe. Write it down. I whisper it to yourself. What's my comeback move? Here's what I know. Fear doesn't vanish. Doubt doesn't disappear. But courage says, I see you. I see the fear. I hear the doubt, and I'm moving anyway. Your pause was not a setback. It was preparation. And your comeback, it will not look like anyone else's. It will be stronger, wiser, sharper, and unapologetically yours. So, here we are. At the end of this pause, standing on the edge of a comeback. And I want you to know, if you're listening right now, you already have the courage you need. It's in you. It's been in you. And now it's time to use it. And before I close, let me leave you with the truth. Raw, unfiltered, the way it came to me in the silence. My reminder to myself. My reminder to you. My spoken word for the comeback. I am the pause and the play, the silence and the storm, the breaking and the building. They thought my rest was weakness, but it was my rebirth. I am not behind, I'm aligned, I am not forgotten, I'm prepared. Unbreakable, unapologetic, and unstoppable. And so are you. I want to thank you for hanging in there with me on my comeback show after my pause. And I look forward to seeing you next week on Unbreakable, Unapologetic, and Unstoppable with your girl, Bonita.